It starts with a woman sitting in a police interrogation room. Her husband is dead, shot, gone.
Dispatch Unit 12 on scene. We've got one white male victim, approximately mid-40s, unresponsive with an apparent gunshot wound to the head.
The officers speak calmly, almost too calmly, as they watch her reaction. At first, she looks stunned, then confused. Then something shifts. And in that very moment, everything begins to unravel. Because this isn't just a tragic story of a murdered husband. It's a story about a plan, a setup, and a sting operation so carefully executed that the truth had nowhere left to hide. And at the center of it all is Dalia Dippolito. It starts in a quiet suburban home in Boynton Beach, Florida. August 5th, 2009 looks completely ordinary. A woman wakes up, gets ready, and leaves for the gym just like it's another routine morning. Inside the house, her husband Michael is still recovering from surgery, resting, unaware that this calm, everyday moment is sitting on top of something far more dangerous. Because behind the normal routine, something is already in motion that will completely shatter the illusion of normal life and turn this couple into the center of one of the most shocking murder-for-hire sting operations ever recorded in the United States. On the surface, their relationship looked fast and intense. They met, moved quickly, and were married within months. But from the very beginning, things weren't stable. Trust issues, money pressure, and two very complicated pasts sitting underneath it all. Michael wasn't starting fresh. He had a criminal record from a boiler room stock scam.
He's been on probation.
For what?
He's for stock fraud.
Stock fraud?
A fraud case that still followed him even after prison. Dalia also had her own background. Raised in a strict household under the name Dalia Muhammad, she later moved to Boynton Beach and worked in real estate. People who knew her often said she wanted quick results, money, lifestyle, and control, without patience for the slow process of building stability. Their connection didn't start in a typical way. Michael later admitted their first contact was transactional. But what began casually turned quickly personal and unstable. Very early on, the same pattern showed up. Money pressure, lifestyle expectations, and constant strain over finances. Michael still had legal and financial obligations from his past, including large restitution payments tied to his fraud case. That pressure followed him into the marriage. Arguments started building, trust started breaking, and money slowly became the main source of tension between them. What looked like a rushed romance was already turning into a pressure-filled relationship, long before the investigation ever began. As the marriage continued, the cracks didn't just widen, they started turning into something far more dangerous. What investigators later uncovered was that Dalia had begun confiding in a longtime acquaintance named Mohammed Shikhadeh, a Jordanian businessman she had known for years. This wasn't a new contact or a casual friend. Their connection went back long before her marriage to Michael.
We just ended up developing a friendship.
Described by those who knew them as complicated, long-standing, and at times even transactional. Muhammad owned multiple businesses in Florida, including gas stations, and had often been someone she turned to when she needed help or support. But in July 2009, that familiar connection took a turn no one saw coming. According to Muhammad's later statement to police, Dalia began opening up about her marriage falling apart. At first, it sounded like a typical emotional conversation. Frustration, dissatisfaction, talk of divorce. But the tone didn't stay there for long. It started shifting, slowly at first, then suddenly into something far darker. She reportedly said that divorce wasn't enough, that simply walking away wasn't what she wanted anymore. And then came the words that changed everything. She allegedly said that she wanted her husband gone.
You're worth seriously won't kill over that much money?
It's not even over the get it? Like, it's not even about the
From that moment, the conversation stopped being about a failing marriage and started sounding like something else entirely. According to Muhammad, what followed was even more shocking. He claimed Dalia directly asked him if he knew anyone who could kill Michael Dippolito. Not hinted at, not suggested, asked outright. She wanted him to connect her with someone who could handle it.
She asked if I knew someone who can kill her husband for her. I said, basically, no, I don't. She tells me, though, he's the nicest, sweetest nerd, but you can't stand him.
It was a point of no return in the conversation. Muhammad later told investigators he was stunned by how quickly things escalated from personal problems to a request for murder. He said it wasn't vague frustration anymore. It was direct, intentional, and disturbing. And realizing the seriousness of what he had just heard, he refused to be a part of it. But that refusal didn't end the story. Instead, it became the trigger. Because Muhammad didn't walk away quietly. He went to the authorities. And that single decision didn't just report a conversation. It set off a chain reaction that would pull police into one of the most carefully constructed murder-for-hire sting operations in the country, where nothing would be left to chance, and every word from that moment would be recorded. The moment police received the information, it was no longer treated as a private rumor or emotional outburst. Detectives immediately understood the weight of what they were hearing. If even part of it was true, they were potentially looking at an active murder-for-hire situation. But they also knew something critical. They couldn't act on words alone. They needed proof. Clear, undeniable, recorded proof of intent. So instead of confronting Dalia directly, they made a calculated decision. They would build a controlled undercover operation and let her reveal everything herself. Muhammad now became the silent bridge between both sides. On one end, the source of the allegation, and on the other, the entry point that allowed police to step into her world without raising suspicion. From that moment on, every move was carefully controlled by investigators. A full undercover sting was set in motion. An officer was assigned to pose as a professional hitman. His identity was carefully crafted. His role simple, but dangerous in appearance. Someone capable of carrying out a murder for hire. The goal was not to rush anything, but to let Dalia believe she was dealing with a real criminal, while every word, every meeting, every decision was being recorded. Every interaction was now under surveillance. Audio, video, constant documentation. Nothing left to chance. Then came the meeting. When Dalia first came face to face with the undercover officer, she didn't hesitate. There was no confusion, no emotional breakdown, no backing away from what she had allegedly discussed earlier. Instead, the conversation quickly moved in the same direction investigators feared. Michael.
How soon can we get everything going?
I could get it up by Wednesday if you want me to. You understand? But I gotta do my homework, you know?
Right.
She spoke about wanting him gone. Not in vague terms, not as frustration, but as a decision she wanted carried out. The tone, according to investigators, was unsettlingly calm, almost detached, like she was discussing something already decided. The discussion shifted into details. Timing, expectations, how it would be done. And through it all, she appeared focused, not emotional. There was no visible hesitation, no second guessing.
Between now and when it's done, you have to have an option to change your mind. Even if you change your mind, I'm talking to him.
There's no changing, there's no, I'm determined
Definitely
already.
you wanna
I'm
do
positive,
this.
5,000% sure,
Okay.
Then came the moment that unsealed everything. She handed over money. It was described as a payment for the job. That exchange was captured on record, along with her continued instructions about how the situation should be handled and how she believed it could be done without drawing attention back to her. For investigators watching and listening in real time, the line had now been crossed completely. This was no longer an allegation or a suspicious conversation passed through a third party. It was direct participation in a murder-for-hire plan, unfolding step by step under the controlled conditions. And Dalia had no idea she was speaking to law enforcement the entire time. The operation didn't stop after the undercover meetings. In fact, that was only the middle of the plan. Once detectives had Dalia on record discussing the killing with the undercover officer and handling over what she believed as payment, they moved into the most sensitive phase of the entire investigation. Now they didn't just want intent, they wanted confirmation, reaction, and closure in a way that would leave no room for doubt in court. So they made a decision that is rarely used in cases like this. They would stage the murder. To do this safely and legally, Michael Dippolito agreed to cooperate with police. He wasn't harmed in any way, but he became part of the operation by going off-site under police supervision while officers controlled everything at his home. From there, the setup was carefully coordinated. Investigators secured the house and prepared for it to look like a real crime scene tied to a shooting. Officers were positioned both inside and outside, but everything was controlled. Nothing chaotic, nothing uncontrolled. The goal was to just create a believable but fully monitored environment. Hidden surveillance was already in place before Dalia ever returned. Cameras were not just inside the home, but also positioned outside to capture her arrival, her movement, and her immediate reaction. Audio recording devices were also active, so every word she said would be preserved without question. This wasn't improvised. It was structured from the beginning to withstand legal scrutiny. Once everything was set, the next step was to trigger the response. Dalia was called and told to return home immediately because something serious had happened.
Ma'am, I need to talk to you. It's very urgent when you come home. It involves your husband. There's been an incident. Okay, can you come right back to your residence, please? Ma'am, I'll tell you everything you need to know when you get here. Okay? Thank you.
That ambiguity was intentional. It forced a natural reaction instead of giving her time to prepare emotionally or mentally. When she arrived, the scene outside her home was already fully controlled. Police vehicles were present. Officers were stationed around the property. Access was restricted, and she was guided into the situation step by step, so her reaction would be fully captured. Then came the moment she was led to believe everything had collapsed.
Report of a disturbance at your house, and there were shots fired. Is your husband Michael? Okay, I'm sorry to tell you, ma'am, he's been killed. He's been killed, ma'am. I'm sorry.
No, he's not.
Listen.
No.
Try to calm down.
No.
She was informed that Michael had been shot and killed inside the house. And immediately, the emotional shift was visible. She screamed, broke down, and collapsed under what appeared to be shock and grief. Officers observed her closely while simultaneously recording her statements and reactions. Every movement, every word, every emotional response was being documented from multiple angles. What she didn't realize was that the foundation of this moment had already been built long before she arrived. The undercover conversations, the recorded planning, the exchange of money, Everything already existed as evidence. This staged scenario wasn't the beginning of proof. It was the final layer added to an already completed case. From the investigators' point of view, the sting had now done its job completely. They had her intent on record, her actions documented, and her reaction captured under the belief of a completed crime. At that point, nothing was left uncertain anymore. She was taken to the Boynton Beach Police Department for questioning. Inside the interrogation room, investigators began a structured, evidence-led review. At first, they focused on background details, her marriage with Michael, his prior fraud conviction, and whether anyone from his past could be involved in an attack. Dalia responded by pointing towards his criminal history and suggesting possible retaliation due to his past.
I'm worried that you don't know anybody who'd want to kill your husband. You wouldn't want to kill him, I hope. Not at all. The game's over with. Okay? There's no more games with you and I.
But investigators already had a very different direction in mind. The questioning gradually shifted. Instead of exploring outside suspects, officers began testing her explanations against known facts from an undercover operation. They referenced specific details she had already discussed with the supposed hitman, meetings, money, and statements about wanting Michael taken care of. At this point, Dalia denied wrongdoing and insisted she had been misunderstood. She said she believed she was speaking hypothetically and tried to distance herself from any intent. But the investigators continued confronting her with recorded evidence from the sting operation. The pressure increased as they revealed more details. Audio and video recordings of her meetings with the undercover officer, where she discussed having her husband killed, negotiated payment, and agreed on conditions for the plan. These were not summaries or interpretations. They were her own recorded statements being presented back to her. As the interrogation progressed, officers then revealed the critical turning point of the entire case. The man she believed was a hired killer was actually an undercover officer with the Boynton Beach Police Department.
Okay? There's no more games with you and I. Now we're going to get down to serious business. I want to know if you know this guy. Come here. Bring this guy in here. Get over here. Get over here. You know who this guy is?
No,
You've never seen him before?
I've never seen him before.
That's an undercover police officer. We filmed everything that you did, recorded everything that you did. You're going to jail for solicitation of first-degree murder on your husband.
I didn't do anything.
You're going
I
to
didn't
jail.
do anything, please. I didn't do anything.
Tell me you didn't do anything?
I didn't do anything.
You're going to jail today.
And the murder she believed had been arranged never happened. Michael was alive.
Oh my God.
He's alive.
Come here, please. Come here. Mike, come here. Come here, please. Come here.
Can't fix this.
Why not? I didn't do anything
I
to
heard
you.
you.
Mike, come here, please. Come here.
Okay, thank you.
This changed the entire framework of the interview. What she thought was an ongoing situation involving a completed crime suddenly collapsed into a controlled police operation with recorded evidence at every step. Shortly after this confrontation, Dalia Dippolito was placed under arrest and charged with solicitation to commit first-degree murder. The case then moved to the legal system, where the prosecution relied heavily on the recorded undercover footage. The evidence shown to the jury included multiple meetings where she discussed killing her husband, providing payment described as compensation for the act, and outlined expectations for how it should be carried out.
I never said I wanted him killed.
Yes, you did. It's on tape.
I didn't say.
It's on tape a lot, so you did.
I didn't say that I wanted him killed.
And at one point, you say, I want him dead in a 500%.
5,000.
5,000%.
I never said I want him.
Do you want us to play it for you?
Please.
touch more. Go ahead.
The defense argued that she was emotionally unstable and claimed the situation was manipulated through an undercover setup designed to provoke incriminating statements. However, the prosecution's case centered on the consistency of her recorded statements across multiple interactions. Michael later testified in court, describing the investigation, the undercover operation, and the impact of discovering what had been arranged. Financial issues between the couple were also discussed, including restitution obligations tied to his earlier fraud case and disputes over money during their marriage. The trial went through multiple stages, including appeals. At one point, a conviction was overturned due to jury selection issues, leading to a retrial. In later proceedings, the prosecution again relied primarily on the undercover recordings rather than broader circumstantial arguments. Eventually, after retrials and appeals, Dalia Dippolito was sentenced to prison for trying to hire someone to kill her husband, and she was taken into Florida prison systems to serve her time.
Dalia Dippolito called out for her mom as a deputy tried to take her into custody. 6 jurors found Dippolito guilty of hiring a hitman in 2009 to kill her then-husband, Mike Dippolito.
She kept appealing the case over the years, trying to get it overturned, but every court rejected it. As of the latest updates, she is still in prison in Florida, and the case is officially closed in the courts. And just like that, a quiet suburban marriage turned into one of the most controlled and shocking murder-for-hire stings ever recorded. And in the end, what brought everything down wasn't speculation or rumors. It was her own words, captured on tape. Now the question is, how far do you think police should go in cases like this? Should they be allowed to stage events like this to get to the truth? Or does it cross a line? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you enjoy true crime stories like this, make sure to subscribe for more cases that are even crazier than this one.